What's up, everyone? My name is Preston Zeller with BatchData, and I'm going to be showing you today how to create market reports using MCP and BatchData on Claude. So if you don't know what any of that means, I'm going to walk you through it in a second here. This is an example of a market report that I created comparing two cities in the US, Mesa, Arizona, and Round Rock, Texas. And it gave me all this good stuff about the two markets and with a suggestion at the end of the day on what I should be investing in. So pretty cool, huh? Now I'm gonna flip over to just explain briefly what is MCP and before I move on. So MCP came out in December 2024 and Claude came out with it. It's getting adopted more rapidly by some bigger organizations like Google. I think Microsoft has announced this as well. But think about it like a USB-C being plugged into your chat server, right? So Claude, I don't think OpenAI or ChatGPT supports it yet. Claude is the most widely used one. So instead of you just hitting, like, say, an API with one call, you can equip your Claude with a set of tools. That's what the MCP does, and it kind of acts on its own. So people are doing this with N8N right now. This is way above and beyond that. So if you want to download this, let me go back here. If you want to download this, I'll drop the link below. All you got to do is just follow the directions to install it locally and then get your API key from BatchData.io and you're off to the races. So let's go back to the example here now. What I wanted to do is test asking just like a really basic question in terms of from a real estate investor standpoint, right? So I started out here saying, as a real estate investor, I'm looking for homes between 300 and 500K in value where I can have substantial upside. These are typically 3 to 4 bedroom homes. I'm looking for signs of potential distress. Perform a market analysis between Mesa, Arizona and Round Rock, Texas to see what might be better for investing in. So that's just very simple question I asked to Claude. And what it has basically is the suite of tools you can see at the bottom here, right? So it says verify address, autocomplete address, geocode, all this good stuff. So what you see now below it are the series of steps it took to do this, right? It started searching through these different parameters for Mesa and Round Rock. It used the count properties method, the search properties again, counting in all these different places. And the interesting thing here is it then started to go into news articles. And this is where it's really starting to blend different kinds of data sets, which is the beauty of MCP. If you just get raw data from an API, making sense of that can be hard. So obviously there's other tools out there you can use that might contextualize the data, but not quite in this way. This is on a whole nother level. So what it did from there, it then spit out this whole analysis, right? Told me the total properties, median home prices, days on market, for all these, for these different markets. What are the distress indicators, foreclosure activity, absentee ownership, failed listings, all these kinds of things. And you could clarify too, if you wanted to hone in on just a certain type of one, distress factor like a failed listing or foreclosure history, that kind of propensity, you could do that. Absentee ownership, not really distress factor per se, but it is something you might target. And then it kind of aggregated all this data that it found about the local market, right? So you have in Mesa, Arizona, it's a larger market. Then Round Rock, it's a more senior market, which is definitely true. There's a lot more retirees here. Diversity of investment property types, economic stability. So it goes through all that. So it spit out a ton of different information here. That's all great. Some people might want to just like skim through this. But the real cool thing is I just said, hey, turn this into a visualized report I can share with my investors. Or you could just say, turn this into a visualized report. And this is what it spit out, which I thought was really, really cool. So instead of me having to read through all that, it actually organized all the information with an executive summary. So if I didn't say share with my investors, it probably wouldn't have done that. But I can see here it's actually telling me, what's the TLDR on this whole thing, right? And it's saying, okay, it recommends Mesa for larger market size, potential better deal flow, diverse economic base, all these different items. Gives me the highlights in a very easy to read chart, right? Median home price, days on market, and then what the market trends are going on here. And again, like, you have to verify these things. Just going at it blindly may not always be the best, but this is a starting point. Mind you, this is just 2 things that I've told Claude at this point to do. First one was to go find the properties and do the analysis. Second one was just to visualize it. So created this pie chart here. That's great to see. What's the actual amount of properties that fit my description. Pricing trends, days on market. And then here's where it kind of gets into the distress indicators. So really awesome report that you could export, do other things with if you wanted to, where you could have it refine this information. Let's say I wasn't ready to create the report, but I wanted to add more analysis. I could do that. Now I want to show you something else I did. So then I prompted it and I said, okay, based on your recommendation of Mesa, Arizona, pull a list of properties I should prospect with via phone and email. Limit it to 50. Also recommend a postcard design I can send to these people and a cold calling script. This is where it kind of blew my mind. So it actually created this ranked listing for me, gave me the quote unquote distress signals. So this is absentee Canadian owner, but free and clear. They were a cash buyer of the property, but things that might be on lists that I'm actually looking for. These kinds of notes. All the way down, and then ranked the priority of how I should actually be reaching out to them. And here's kind of a summary of how it ranked all of these. So I could now then skip trace all of them, and I did at a later step, but really, really cool what it did there. Again, just kind of easier to see. And this is all without logging into a different subscription, which is the fascinating part. So then once it created this, of course, asked it to create a postcard design. Here's the postcard it came up with. It's not the best postcard design in the world. It's also not the worst. I mean, you could take this and give it to a designer and say, hey, make this better. And it's kind of, giving you the rationale of why it made this postcard. So, I mean, if you had nothing else to go on, you could kind of refine it in here and then run with it. But you might want to put a picture on the right. So that's pretty cool. I mean, again, I just gave it this one prompt, and this is all the stuff it's giving me. So I got the market report. I got the top 50 properties from the location from where it told me to go. Then I got a postcard design, and here's where it got even kind of crazier, is it created this pretty in-depth cold calling script. And this is where it kind of blew my mind. So again, I'm just going to hone in on, I just asked for a cold calling script. But what it's doing is every time you ask a question in a chat flow like this, for people who aren't really aware of how this works, it's looking at all the information above it for context. And so that's why your original question, you want to give it more context about what you want. It's not just a Google search. It is something more elaborate than that. So on the cold calling script here, you can see, and this thing's pretty long. It starts out, and I read through this. I'll actually share a link to it if you want, but so leave a comment below if you want to, get this printed out or whatever. But gives me this whole opening script here. Hi, my name is, so-and-so. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I'm a local real estate investor here in Mesa, and I noticed you have a property at 123 Main Street. I just wanted to reach out because I work with homeowners who are interested in selling their homes quickly without the traditional real estate hassles. Do you have 2 minutes to chat? So that's a pretty good opener. Now, what's interesting is it's giving you kind of the rationale of why they typed it out this way, why the LLM gave it to you this way. So good for, like, especially if you're just a new person, you're like, I don't even know where to start. That's really neat. Okay, then we get into the building interest and qualifying. And this is really where it started to get a lot more in depth for me, is it gave you, okay, what are the qualifying questions by the type of distress factor you're going for, right? Or the type of, attribute that might make them more likely to sell. So for out-of-state owners, how would you approach that for recent purchases, high equity properties? Gave you a good value proposition as to why you'd want to work with me. And then objection handling. That's one of the stickiest parts, of course, of making any deal, getting it tied down. How is that working, right? So all this is good stuff. Closing and next steps, right? So depending on what's their temperature, are they really interested? Are they like, they want to push it off? Then it tells you kind of how to follow up with these people. This one really kind of blew me away, this section, advanced techniques in psychology. So, it's just the things to look for in how people are saying certain things or what they're talking about. This even called out a specific part of Mesa where it is a 55 plus community. I know because I live right by there. And so, Leisure World, honing in on that, or trust properties out of state. There's a ton of out of state in Mesa. How do you build authority? How do you show reciprocity, social proof? And then talking about tonality and delivery. I mean, these are like little nuances, but are really important that really address the subconscious side of things when you're talking. These times, I don't know if these are the best times to call those people, but the fact that it's suggesting times is kind of interesting. Rates are changing, sure. That is true. Going up or down, mostly up right now. And then it gave me a full follow-up sequence. So this kind of hit me in a different way where I thought, okay, well, and I did it on another video that I'll do another recording on, that basically was like, I had to create the follow-up sequence in a more expansive way where I could just kind of take that and tweak it a little bit, put it into my CRM, and plug all these leads into it. So pretty crazy how robust it can get, but it gave me a little bit of an idea here. This is one of the things I think a lot of real estate investors, especially beginning ones, really struggle with, is what is your follow-up sequence? Because you could get, list of 1,000, 10,000 leads, whatever it is, and you're not following up with them in the right way, even if they inbound to you, and the lead goes cold. Well, it's just because you didn't give them enough touches. So that's really important there. It has a combination of email, phone call, text message, providing value through a market update call. That's pretty neat. What to track? I mean, this is also hugely important. Another thing that, even experienced people cannot be great at. What are your targets? These seem like reasonable. Even if it was just a starting point, you can know what you're moving towards. So contact rate, your interest rate, they showed interest, the appointment rate, and then, conversion to deal closed. If you're setting up a CRM, what kind of dispositions are you using? You could be using Excel or Google Sheets, whatever. And then, how do you get more out of your phone calls, right? So this, again, this speaks a little bit to the psychological stuff up above in this document. But, even something as simple as having a local Mesa number, which in batch dialer is called local presence, but, similar idea in other dialing tools. And then, what call targets? If you're sitting there doing 10 calls a day, you're not even going to hit this like sort of beginner status. So I mean, you really need to be doing a lot of activity to hit, probably what your goals are. Yeah, so really cool that it gave you all this. Legal and compliance. So, of course, there's DNC. DNC points there. Don't call someone on the do not call list. It's a no-no. And then, don't be, don't be misleading or dishonest about what you're doing. Give them respect and be professional. Use respectful language. I mean, don't get so offended if they just go, I don't want to talk to you right now. Don't harass them. I mean, sounds common sense, but people can be very pushy. And then it gave you these success factors. So anyways, I think the point here being, within 3 prompts, I'm just going to count them again. So I asked kind of a, longer 2-3 sentence paragraph on, hey, do this analysis. It automatically used the BatchData MCP with search results that it went out and found that were relative to my question, went and did the analysis on its own, and I could refine this if I wanted. I just kind of took it simply, created a report. So that's the second prompt. Hey, turn this into a visualized report. And then the third one was pull a list of 50 and then create the postcard design and a cold calling script. So 3 prompts to do market research, visualize it, give me a report about the top 50, and then give me marketing assets to actually equip me to go after them. It's crazy. It's crazy where this is going. So all that to be said, I encourage you, go try out our MCP toolkit bit there that you can put into Claude. If you don't have Claude, you can try that as well. But this is, I think, kind of an interesting angle of where kind of real estate investing is going. And also just that this technology is going to continue to evolve in crazy ways. So as, more these LLMs get better at kind of ingesting different data sources, I think there's a potential to be this market report reveals these leads that then get processed and follow-up sequences are created, and then it just plugs into your CRM. And so a lot of cool stuff on the horizon, but again, go to batchdata.io to get your API key. And thanks for checking out the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and have a good day.